You ever notice how some crimes just refuse to stay buried? Like, no matter how much evidence comes out, how many investigations are closed, there's always that one version of the story that feels darker, stranger, almost impossible to ignore. What if some of the most infamous serial killers weren't acting alone? What if behind the headlines, there were hidden forces, secret groups, or something even more disturbing pulling the strings? Sounds crazy, right? But here's the thing. Millions of people actually believe these theories. Not because they're proven, but because they're just believable enough to make you pause. And once you hear them, it's hard to unhear them. So don't be surprised if by the end of this, you start questioning what's real and what was never meant to be uncovered. The Cecil Hotel, Hellmouth. Richard Ramirez. So imagine staying at a hotel, not knowing it has one of the darkest histories in America. That's exactly where Richard Ramirez, the Night Stalker, used to stay during his killing spree in the 1980s. Now here's where things get creepy. The Cecil Hotel has long been associated with deaths, suicides, and violent crimes. Because of that, some people started believing it wasn't just coincidence, but something supernatural. The theory claims the hotel sits on a hellmouth, basically a gateway releasing dark energy into the world. And according to believers, Ramirez wasn't just evil. He was being influenced, even powered by this force. Sounds like something out of a horror movie, right? In reality, there's zero evidence of anything paranormal. Most experts say it's just a mix of urban decay, crime, and mental illness. But still, it makes you wonder why so many tragedies keep happening in one place. 9. The Headless Decoy, Belle Gunness. This one feels less like a theory and more like a mystery that was never properly solved. Belle Gunness was known for luring wealthy men to her farm, and then they'd just disappear. In 1908, her house suddenly burned down. Inside, police found bodies, including her children and a headless woman. Everyone assumed it was Belle. Case closed, right? Not exactly. The body didn't match her size. It was smaller, lighter. Then her farmhand later confessed that Belle ordered the fire and may have killed another woman to use as a decoy. Let that sink in. The idea is that she faked her own death and escaped, possibly to start over somewhere else. And here's the chilling part. Belle Gunness was never officially confirmed dead. So technically, one of history's most dangerous killers might have just walked away and vanished forever. 8. The elite cover-up hit, Jeffrey Dahmer. Jeffrey Dahmer's crimes were already horrifying, but this theory takes it to another level. After being convicted, Dahmer was killed in prison by another inmate. Officially, it was a random act of violence, but conspiracy theorists don't buy that. They claim Dahmer wasn't just acting alone, but was connected to a secret network of elite individuals involved in cannibalism. According to this theory, Dahmer was basically a supplier, and when he was about to expose powerful names, he had to be silenced. So his death? Not random, but planned. Sounds like something straight out of a thriller. The truth is, there's absolutely no evidence supporting this. The inmate who killed him had a history of mental illness and clearly stated his own motives. But still, the idea that something bigger was being hidden keeps this theory alive online. Tier 7. The nationwide snuff ring, John Wayne Gacy. John Wayne Gacy is already one of the most disturbing killers in history, but some believe his crimes were only a small piece of a much bigger puzzle. The theory suggests Gacy wasn't working alone, but was part of a nationwide trafficking network known as the Delta Project. Now here's where it gets interesting. This wasn't completely made up. The Delta Project actually existed, and someone connected to it had worked with Gacy. That connection fueled the idea that Gacy may have been disposing of victims for a larger operation. Even Gacy himself once hinted that he didn't act alone. But was he telling the truth, or just trying to shift blame? Authorities never found solid evidence linking him to a larger ring. Still, the overlap in names and timelines keeps people questioning whether the full story was ever uncovered. 6. The Process Church Cult, David Berkowitz. When David Berkowitz, the son of Sam, was caught, his explanation sounded completely insane. He claimed a neighbor's dog was possessed and told him to kill. Later, he admitted he made that up. But that didn't stop another theory from taking over. Journalist Maury Terry spent years investigating a possible link between Berkowitz and a secret satanic cult known as the Process Church. According to this theory, Berkowitz wasn't acting alone at all. He was just one part of a larger group, carrying out coordinated killings. Some witnesses even claimed there were multiple shooters involved. The idea? Berkowitz took the fall while others disappeared into the shadows. Official investigations never confirmed any of this. But the case had just enough loose ends, enough strange details, to keep people wondering if the real story was far more complicated than we were told. The MK Ultra sleeper agent, Ted Bundy. Ted Bundy didn't look like a monster, and that's exactly what made him so terrifying. Charming, intelligent, well-spoken, the kind of person you'd never suspect. But that's also what fueled this theory. Some believe Bundy wasn't just a killer, but a failed government experiment. Back in the 1960s, the CIA was running a real program called MK Ultra, where they tested mind control using drugs like LSD. Now here's where things get strange. Bundy was studying during that exact time period, and his personality reportedly changed dramatically. The theory claims he may have been exposed to these experiments, turning him into a sleeper agent whose mind eventually broke. Sounds wild, but people point to his dual personality as proof something deeper was going on. Of course, there's no actual evidence linking Bundy to MK Ultra, but the idea that a government experiment could create someone like him, that's what keeps this theory alive. 4. The CIA-linked cult leader, Charles Manson. Charles Manson didn't just commit crimes. He controlled people completely. That's what makes this theory so unsettling. Some believe Manson wasn't just a cult leader, but actually connected to intelligence agencies like the CIA. The idea is that during the 1960s, the government was worried about the growing hippie movement and anti-war protests. So what if they created the perfect villain to destroy that image? According to this theory, Manson was either trained or manipulated using techniques similar to MK Ultra, using drugs like LSD to control his followers and turn them into obedient killers. And when the murders happened, it shocked the world, instantly changing how people viewed the entire counterculture movement. Officially, there's no proof of any CIA involvement, but Manson's ability to brainwash people so effectively still leaves one uncomfortable question. How did he get that level of control? 3. The Murder Castle Myth, H.H. Holmes. You've probably heard this one before. A creepy hotel filled with secret passages, gas chambers, and hidden rooms designed for killing. H.H. Holmes's so-called murder castle is often described like something straight out of a nightmare. But here's the twist. Many historians now believe most of that story was exaggerated. Yes, Holmes was a criminal. Yes, he killed people. But the idea of a fully engineered death maze with elaborate torture systems, that likely isn't true. The building did have hidden rooms, but they were probably used for fraud, hiding stolen goods, and insurance scams. Over time, media and storytelling turned it into something much darker than reality. Still, the legend stuck. And honestly, maybe that's because people want to believe something that horrifying could exist. It makes the story unforgettable, even if the truth is a little less dramatic. Satur Lewis Carroll was Jack the Ripper. Now, this one sounds completely insane, but people still talk about it. The theory claims that Lewis Carroll, the author of Alice in Wonderland, was secretly Jack the Ripper, and the proof? Anagrams. Someone took passages from his books and rearranged the letters to form hidden confessions. Yeah, seriously. According to believers, the truth was hiding in plain sight the whole time. But here's the reality. You can create almost any message using anagrams if the text is long enough. There's no real evidence, no timeline match, nothing solid. Still, the idea that a beloved author could hide something so dark, that's what makes it so disturbing. Ted Cruz is the Zodiac Killer. This one actually started as a joke and somehow turned into a full-blown viral theory. People online began comparing Ted Cruz to the Zodiac Killer sketches, and the resemblance got everyone talking. Memes exploded, videos went viral, and suddenly, some people actually believed it. But here's the problem. The Zodiac murders happened in the late 1960s, and Ted Cruz was born in 1970. So yeah, unless time travel is involved, this one doesn't hold up. Still, it shows how easily the internet can blur the line between humor and belief. Sometimes a joke goes so far, people forget it started as one. So, what do you think? Are these just wild theories people made up for fun? Or is there even a tiny chance that some of these stories hide a darker truth? Because once you start questioning things like this, it's hard to stop. Drop your thoughts in the comments. Which one felt the most believable? And if you enjoy content that makes you think twice, make sure to like, share, and subscribe. Trust me, the next story might be even harder to ignore.